Now I'd like to introduce Marguerite Rappolt. Ms. Rappolt was appointed the Deputy Minister of Ministry of Community and Social Services in 2009. Her career has been devoted to the public service, first in the government of Saskatchewan and then in Ontario, where her posts have included Deputy Minister of Culture, Deputy Minister for Seniors, Deputy Minister for Aboriginal Affairs, and Deputy Minister of Health Promotion, to name a few. In her current role, Marg is leading major transformation initiatives to better serve people who rely on social assistance, families who receive child and spousal support payments, and people who have developmental disabilities. We are delighted to have Deputy Minister Rappolt here with us today. Welcome.
Good morning, everyone, and it's a great pleasure for me to be here and join you. Dave, thank you for those kind remarks and introduction. And I do want to start by acknowledging Dave and Kira, and no doubt endless number of people here and not here who support them in organizing and designing a program such as this. So I just want to commend them for the agenda you have in front of you over the next couple days. I can't think of a more topical set of issues for you to be engaged in. And I too want to say welcome to all of you from coming across the province, long ways in some cases, and as a demonstration of your commitment to learn, work with colleagues, and share information and solutions. So it's a delight to be here. It is an extremely important time. It's a very challenging time to be engaged in designing and delivering human services in this province. And when I talk about this endeavor with other leaders, my counterparts across the country, we do remind ourselves, not in a hokey way, but in a serious way, it is still quite a privilege to be given the opportunity to help think through and offer leading advice on how we move our programs forward. Jurisdictions across our country and across the world, of course, are grappling with some of the very same issues, shifting demographics that place tremendous pressure on our historical service offerings, poor outcomes, ongoing poor outcomes for at-risk populations, concentrated consumption and investment in services and supports for certain groups of higher needs folks, complex funding and service delivery arrangements, and enhanced citizen rights and expectations. And for those of you who do look outward from this province, I think you'll come to understand that the human service delivery offering in how it's presented to Ontario citizens, it likely doesn't get more complex than it does in the province of Ontario. That goes noted by my colleagues across the country. Ontario is facing similar issues as we progress down the road of transforming our social assistance system in the province. And we must do this at the very same time as we all realistically, in our own administrative worlds and supporting our elected officials, we grapple with the realities of our province's fiscal situation. The journey ahead promises to be both exciting and challenging as we consider how best to reform the system to support successful client outcomes, better accountability, and long-term sustainability, all of our objectives. You in this room know better than anyone how complex the system is, how difficult it is for clients to navigate their way through, although you in your communities are making headway on that, I know, every month and every year. It is frustrating in the social assistance world for our frontline staff to spend as much time as they do in applying and interpreting rules. And a few, of our engagements have brought a lot of profile to that issue of the administrative burden and the effect it has in the work of our frontline case managers. The people who rely on our programs and the staff who deliver them have made it clear they want to see more simplification. They need simpler programs that are easier to access and understand and more effective in helping our clients connect to their communities and connect to jobs. So now more than ever, it's imperative that we continue to work closely together to meet our commitments to clients and ensure responsible and effective human services within communities and across the province. I want to start, before I get into talking about the direction set out in our recent report that was released a couple weeks ago. Before I do that, I just want to talk about our work together and celebrate and bring credit where credit is due. Over the past 2 years, we've been working closely with you in a whole range of ways to improve service delivery. And we've recently introduced our online application channel. And I know we're busy preparing for the launch of our new case management solution. You're going to hear from our colleague at the ministry, Martin Tum, on this a little later. The collaborative relationship we enjoy with our municipal partners is critical to the success of this initiative, and I want to thank you for the quality of your engagement and your advice in this critically important project. I'm confident that the new solution, including features like the enhanced client portal that we're all waiting for, will be a more effective tool for staff and will ultimately translate into better service for people who do rely on our programs. As you all know, OMSA has also partnered with the ministry to offer the supportive approaches through innovative learning, the SAIL program across the province, and you're going to have a bit more discussion on this program as well. Launched in 2008, the SAIL program provides an innovative client service approach that's focused on building competencies of delivery staff to coach, communicate, and engage with clients, colleagues, and community partners. Capacity building is critical. Over the past 4 years, we've seen the impact of SAIL in improving outcomes for clients and promoting effective relationships in the community and in the workplace. And I just want to say those are 2 examples of many initiatives that you're working with us on to assist improving what we do for Ontarians in all of your communities. So the final report of the Commission of the Review on Social Assistance in Ontario was released just short of 2 weeks ago. Commissioners Francis Lankin and Munir Sheikh have put forward a bold vision for change and offer a wide range of recommendations for government consideration. So I likely pay attention to this, as I must, as much or more than anyone in the room. So there's 108 recommendations in all, and I think 130-some pages of critical analysis. The government commissioned the review knowing that transformation is inevitable. It's critical to address the challenges facing our social assistance system. The commissioners themselves highlight the challenges and the barriers and what's wrong with the system. They do a great job. Talk about the growing caseload, the poor and persistent employment outcomes, and insufficient or uneven supports for persons with disabilities or multiple barriers to employment. They do talk about the adequacy of rates, talk about the complexity of rules, the myriad of layered benefits and duplicative delivery structures, and they bring focus to the issue of the need for more outcomes and transparency, which we feel is critical as well. It's not news to anyone in this room that the caseload pressures are persistent, and as we think about this in the province, we're very mindful about trends, forecasts, what's changed, what's different. I think, as all you know, there are different trend lines from 20 years ago, and the pressure on our system is not exclusively but persistently more the result of the caseload pressures coming from the ODSP program than necessarily the Ontario Works program. It is a different profile of caseload pressure than was the case 25 years ago. Over time, these 2 programs have become very complicated. with rules layered on top of other rules. And these programs are not as responsive as they should be to the people they serve. So the Commission was tasked to find ways to make this system more responsive and fair, not just in terms of internal cohesion and fairness, but the report, for those who are familiar with it, will know that there's careful attention to the placement and incentives in our system, and what that means in terms of similarly situated Ontarians who don't benefit from the social assistance system but are working in low-paid jobs. So that is also a very important lens of fairness that all we policy makers must attend to. There are a number of profound and significant recommendations, and first of all, I'll just say there's a big, long chapter 2 that is on entitlements and benefits. So when you wade your way through that, you will see that it's a fairly bold and profound vision and roadmap for change. It's recommended, for example, on the rate structure, that there is a complete overhaul, and they recommend the introduction of one new standard rate. For those Ontarians who aren't familiar with this program, that doesn't sound very significant. It sounds like a no-brainer. For all of you who know these programs so very well and know the multiple rate structure and the range of different kinds of benefits in the system, to suggest we're going to have one standard rate with a disability supplement or top-up, it's a lot of change to make that happen underneath that. So that is a real testament to the Commissioner's vision for a more simplified system. In addition, the report recommends, when it gets to the where should we start, what are the early opportunities, it talks about focus on addressing adequacy, particularly, as you know, for the single OW client. And it recommends an increase of $100 a month for that rate. Goes on in this section dealing with entitlements to suggest that clients, there should be an increased capacity in terms of earnings exemption, and they should be able to keep the first $200 of their employment earnings each month before it impacts their check. It's recommended that clients retain greater liquid assets and savings to improve their financial resiliency. It's recommended that there be mandatory dental, hearing, and vision benefits extended and evened out to all recipients. You know what that means. That means an extension, for example, of dental benefits to the OW world that now just exists in its full form in the ODSP world. It also recommends replacing, and that's the word it uses, important, replacing, eliminating the two programs as they exist right now, OW and ODSP, and ensuring the development of a single integrated program delivered at the municipal level and by First Nations. It also recommends changes to rent geared to income. Finally, and this is the first big chapter and focus, is on employment outcomes and how we need to do better ourselves on behalf of our clients, and how the employer community has to be better engaged locally and provincially to be champions of ensuring room in their human capital plans for people with disabilities and people on social assistance. So many of the recommendations have costs. The Commission weren't silent on that front, and neither did it back away from very tough choices the province would need to make in order to underwrite or fund some of these changes, particularly the changes addressing adequacy. So within the report, even though there was modest profile, I would say, at the time of launch from the commissioners, but it was recommended that the special diet program that exists in this province, that has attracted quite a bit of attention over the last 2 or 3 years, it is recommended that that program be eliminated, and that there be a very narrow nutritional supplement program taken on by the Ministry of Health and Long-Term Care In addition, it's recommended that one of the work incentive programs for people on ODSP also be eliminated, and that savings as a result of those program redesigns be reinvested to support the increases in rates. So I'll just say the government out of the gate, having just received this less than 2 weeks ago, has absolutely stated its strong support for the objectives described. The commissioners, I think, have nailed the sense of complexity and problem that we're facing. But there is a recognition that the solutions themselves are challenging and they are complex. And it's likely not wise for anyone at an elected level or ourselves to jump to embracing solutions without careful consideration of implications for all of us. Obviously, the roadmap set forth by the commissioners would have significant implications for municipalities. The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing will be working with our ministry to gather insight and advice from municipalities through AMO and the existing Memorandum of Understanding process, as well as the City of Toronto. And I was saying to Kira, I was present at the AMO meeting supporting Minister Malloy with Minister Wynne, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing at the time, and at the AMO meeting. And I would just say to you, not surprising to you, these are your communities, the initial response from the representation at AMO was wide-ranging, no surprise to you, from some municipal representatives suggesting a very early sense of embracing the full set of directions and wanting to work to proceed to implementation, and another set of responses, of course, that were significantly more cautious and needing to understand more about the cost impact and the issues of transferring accountability for a caseload and a program offering to more complex, multi-barriered clients within the municipal world. We are also looking at using working groups as a way to engage business and community leaders and others, making sure we continue to listen to the voices of people with lived experience with the goal of developing an implementation plan, a responsible roadmap throughout 2013. The advice offered by this commission also needs to be considered in relation to the recommendations offered by Don Drummond in the spring, just before our 2012 budget. The Drummond report reinforced the importance of a strong focus on delivery of public services that meets the needs for people in an effective and efficient manner, and of course was very focused on the bottom line of eliminating deficit, and came forward with a fiscal trajectory for our program area that in itself was very profound, and talked about a level of growth of 0.5% in our sector in the wake of last year's growth being in around 5%. From my perspective within the ministry and all my colleagues, I would observe that before we can confidently consider fully delivery modernization or integration, it's critical that we work thoughtfully to assess our roles and our functions and our responsibilities within our complex world. We all share the vision of a simpler system, and I think with my team at the ministry, we know this isn't 10 years from now. I think the moment is now, maybe not right now, November 2012, but the moment is upon us where we have to move forward together with transforming this system. But I believe before we can advise our political leaders on the best way to do that, it's incumbent upon us to think carefully about future state roles, oversight, delivery, monitoring, reporting, navigating and supporting client. And in a world where we're going to have a different technology platform that advances responsiveness a lot, and no one can lose sight of a provincially uploaded funding model for this service. So there aren't any simple solutions. we've got a lot of structural but also entitlement considerations that we must be thoughtful about in terms of really assessing the underpinnings of the differentness of these programs. The complexity is not really in how we deliver. The complexity is in the entitlement schemes that are embedded in our OW and our ODSP set of legislation and regulations. And I think our commission has done an excellent job of profiling the need to consider those separate programs. I just want to say I'm how fortunate I believe you are to have Susan Dreyfus with you today. And Susan and I have been chatting, and she's worked with and been in touch with other colleagues of mine at the provincial level, has a wealth of experience in both public and not-for-profit sectors. So her discussion on community-wide engagement, building alliances, and breaking down barriers will stimulate lots of ideas, I know, that will help us move forward. So I just want to say to all of you supporting these critically important programs in your communities, thank you very much, and thank you to your frontline teams and your colleagues and partners in your communities for the work you do every week. And thank you for your commitment today to think through solutions to these complex and very important issues we're facing. You have a great conference.